Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode. Alrighty, well, we are here for, I guess, part two of our Flagstaff visit. Not necessarily part two of any certain episode, but Eric and I are kicking around here in Flagstaff for a day. And I was up here in Flagstaff, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago, I want to say. And I was next door and I saw some cool frontage over here. What street is this right here?
San Francisco. It's like
San Francisco.
Yeah, it's like the main strip for like NAU, all campuses down there, and then they have to walk to downtown through here. So it's that always appealed to us.
And we're also part of the South Side neighborhood, which is pretty awesome. It's a little bit different than the other side of the tracks, you could say.
I could throw a baseball over the tracks, but the town definitely looks at it different. But we think it's on the up and up.
Which is funny because from someone that doesn't live here, that's not the impression you get. But yeah, I was right next door. I was walking around a little bit, saw this spot and popped in. And now that I think back, it was you. And I was like, hey, I'm from A Taste of AZ. We should talk sometime. And then some time went by. And now finally we're here doing a podcast with you guys. And with that, I'll let you gentlemen go ahead and introduce yourselves and where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'm Brian McCarrick. Andrew and I have been friends for about 10 years. We met working at Four Seasons in Scottsdale. And then we went down to Century Grand through a friend of mine, Libby and Mitch were working there. And Andrew always, when we met, I was kind of running the bars at the Four Seasons and he was like a server, wanted to be a bartender and was just really receptive to everything. And we went down there and COVID hit, wanted to start, talk the guys into starting a food cart. We called it Sink or Swim because it was outside of Undertone. We always wanted to open a bar. Started with minimal. My nightstand from my apartment was literally where we put our POS in. And then, we just saved up and ended up in Flagstaff because we thought it's where we needed to be. And we're friends first and business partners second. Exactly. And that's kind of why it works out. And then Andrew, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Andrew Felix. I like Brian said, we met at Four Seasons. He's been my mentor through this whole time. So I kind of just been piggybacking off him and kind of trying to make everything like when you go to a bar, you try to pick the cool things and make them your way. So, the things I look up to him and all like the advice he gives me, I just try to add my twist to it and kind of like my personality to it. But yeah, I've been in the industry since I was 16. I started from like dishwasher to working at expo windows, to now just, being I would say a pretty well-rounded bartender. And now we own a bar. So
yeah, don't let him.
Super proud of it.
He undersells himself. So I told him when we went down to, because Century Grand and Undertow, it's such a big, they're the best in the game. Jason Asher was, one of our biggest influences and mentors. And I told Andrew when we go down there, I go, hey man, we're going to go down there together. I don't know what it's going to be, but I go, if you don't pass me in 2 years, we kind of screwed up. And he's by far past me. I kind of operate on like more of the big picture stuff. I've been doing it for so long, but Andrew's the day to day. We wouldn't be who we are without him. He's really came into his own. And I think, being a dad now and, having a family and his wonderful wife, he's past me and I just try to catch up to him now. He plays good false humble, but he's the man right now.
No, it helps, but it's the yin and the yang. And like Brian said, we're friends before business. And then everything else comes pretty smooth.
I'm a little curious because you said you're a well-rounded bartender. I've been scoffed at by people that I've called bartenders because I didn't call them a mixologist. Whereas you seem like a down-to-earth guy. I've soaked that up. But is that kind of like a role that you play here?
Yeah, I mean, we don't like to be like the mixologist. We think
that's a swear word.
It's we like to take the pretentious out of the bar. And we think just being a bartender and if you're going to treat someone like a normal person every day at the bar, you have to act like a normal person. Yeah, we do have skill. We can do some pretty cool shit. But mixologist is just a little bit too much, I would say.
Yeah, we always say like protection and hospitality are
Enemies.
oxymorons. You know, like they don't work together. And you know, I've been lucky enough and stupid enough to work in food and beverage for 20 years. You know, I had a little side quest as a teacher. That's what I went to school for. But I've seen it evolve, like from redheaded sluts and surfers on acid to like, I'm so glad the techniques have caught up. But essentially what we're doing is making alcohol is poison. We're making it taste good, making people have a good time. Like hospitality is always going to be hospitality. No matter how the trending of drinks change, I think the hospitality is always going to be there. And that's what I've always embraced. And we really bonded is when we worked at Four Seasons, we threw a party for all the staff. And I had this killer pork shoulder recipe I've been making for my family for years. It was like a Christmas and Thanksgiving thing. And we're, you know, it was a big staff. We threw it at my 700 square foot apartment. My wife was really mad at me, but we threw this party and I told him, I go, hey, I really want to do tacos. We're going to do fresh margaritas. And he goes, my mom makes the best tortilla in town. And I speak Spanish very well. Went up there 10 minutes in, I realized she's like, oh, a little touch of this, a little more water. I'm like, she doesn't have a recipe. I was asking for a measurement. She should know, you just got to touch it. Anyways, she just
someone who's made a lot of tortillas too.
It's true. Oh, she had 30 years of experience in her hands. And I realized 10 minutes in, that's not going to work. So she just made the tortillas for us. But we had probably 50 or 60 people, like all spill it out of this apartment. And we ran out of, you know, I cooked like 20 pounds of pork shoulder. And we were done with like in 2 hours. And I looked at Andrew and I said, there might be something to this. And this is before COVID, before they shut down the restaurant at Century Grand, and we're essentially throwing parties, right? That's why I always think when you say mixologist, I think it's like saying a lyricist to an MC, right? An MC is a master of ceremonies, and a bartender is someone who's hosting a party. Mixologist, whatever, man. If you're trying to hit like high level stuff, I don't disrespect it. I think technique is a huge part of it. Yeah. But I think you're missing the main part of it is people having fun and having good drinks, you know?
Yeah. With that analogy, it's akin to writing really technically impressive lyrics, but if they don't make you feel some type of way.
100%. Telling stories.
That's the point of music.
Yeah. You want it to hit your heart. And when you leave, you're kind of like, wow, you know, like they took the time to listen to me, to, you know, customize my experience. Anyone can make a killer margarita, but, you know, who's going to ask you about your kids or if you bought a new house? And next time you come in and you could remember that and be like, hey, how's the new house going? And they're just like, holy shit, how does he remember that?
Yeah.
We bought a new house. You know, it's like, because we know the drinks are going to be good. You know, we've been doing it long enough. The drinks and the food, easy to execute. The experience and the hospitality and keeping everyone happy, that's the magic right there. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's what you remember more. You could have the best cocktail in the world, but if they treat you like shit,
you can get away with a like a B+ cocktail or food with awesome hospitality.
For sure. Yeah.
Which if you have bad hospitality, it's hard to get even with an A+, it's you feel like you're not valued when you leave, or kind of like talked down to, right?
Yeah, they're going over your head.
That's my least favorite thing is I think like a mixologist talks down to somebody, and a bartender makes you just feel human and just knows what you want to pick up and learn, and he'll give you that and leave it there. And the stuff that, you know, someone else might shove down your throat, you just kind of like step back and you're like, I get it, bro. You're human. You want to have a shot on a beer. I'm not going to convince you to have a smoked old fashioned or, you know, some wonky like that. It's just enjoy your time, man. Yeah.
So let me recalibrate the timeline real quick. So the party where you had that kind of aha moment, that was before or after the food truck?
That was before. So
the food truck.
That's before we
that
went
was
down
really
to
the
Century
inspiration.
Grand. But that was, we looked at each other and we're like, there might be something here.
So Brian was like, you know, I don't remember exactly, you know, but we went back to work and he's like, hey bro, what if we just do this every day? We can throw a party, we can cook the same tacos, and eventually we can get a liquor license and we'll add the alcohol concept to it. But if we do the food, maybe that'll be like the bridge, right? And he's did the same analogy where he's like, it's all about just throwing a party every day. And he has a killer playlist from like music from the 80s, 90s, like heavy hip hop, but there's
Just
like
because I'm old.
some other like, some other like cool stuff that's mixed in there that is kind of like for everybody. And the playlist was just killer. So we're like, we have the food, we have the playlist. We just really need to like get it going, and that's when he planted the seed. And he took me down to like Undertow and all those bars and Bitter and Twisted, Little Rituals, and I had never experienced that side of cocktails. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, bro,
He caught the bug.
let's fucking do it. Like, I was like super excited, and I was like, I thought it was all like hotel, like martinis, prickly pear margaritas, and you make like this killer money. But Brian was very clear. He said, you're going to work twice as hard and you're probably going to make maybe a third less. But we were like,
It's true.
we're willing to do the sacrifice, because we knew it wasn't a permanent thing. It was more of a boot camp, to where we're
Gotcha.
like, let's go play with the big dogs. If we can prove ourselves that, we can hang with them, then that's going to show us that we could possibly open a place, so.
Yeah, well, and bear with me as I continue to make music analogies, because it feels like that just keeps making its way into the conversation.
Yeah,
but
it's a
it
huge
sounds
part of
like
us.
you guys jammed a little bit early on, and at that point you kind of built up your own skills beforehand. But then you guys seem like you're more than just a sum of your parts, right? And the party and then the food truck was kind of feeling that stuff out. And that era was a little bit of like the jamming a lot and doing some small
Yeah.
shows together and really building that chemistry. And so now we're kind of at like maybe your first studio album. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah. Well, and I love the argument, which hip hop artist first album isn't their best.
Mm.
And this is our first album, and there's a few of them off the top of my head, like Eminem, Mac Miller, um, Outkast. I think there's an argument for, even though I love Southern Playlist at Cadillac Music. But there's certain things, we have all of our experience for our first one, and you have less material to pull from your second one. So we wanted to make sure this first one was really good. We really bonded over, I'm from Detroit. My dad was a factory worker. Andrew's from, he's first generation immigrant. And we were always the hardest worker wherever we were, whether it was at Century Grand, whether we were at, we always say we're not the smartest or most talented, but we'll outwork your ass, and that's where we really bonded and kind of identified as you, because we're very different. We come from similar backgrounds, but different backgrounds. Me living in Spain for a couple of years, and I speak Spanish, allows me to communicate with his family. I think I'm his dad's favorite white guy, which I take a lot of pride in. But
if you're if you're Mexican and your dad likes a white boy, it's
I'm doing something right.
It takes a few stripes,
Yeah.
Well,
They
there can
definitely put
be-
you to the test.
There can be endless good cocktail bars, good places to get tacos, but there can only be one favorite white guy of your dad.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
You're not
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's very
it's a
true.
highly coveted
I
spot.
do feel very proud
It's
of
been
that.
empty for 60 years.
Yeah.
And now someone finally was able to figure it out. But
yeah, we became
Yeah.
friends, and kind of to continue on that storyline. So Andrew always wanted to go. He's like, "Hey man, I want to get a job down in the Valley." And I had all these connections because I worked at the parlor and that's where I really fell in love with cocktails and
Wonderful spots too. To
oh
get your
yeah,
feet
it was
wet.
great. And parlor. And when I started at the parlor, Josh James, Clever Coy, was the bar manager, and Michael Almendinger, who now runs Pack Edge, was like the head bartender, became the bar manager, and Libby Lingua, who was the all-star of the Phoenix cocktail scene, was working with us in the bar. We had a really great
And this was
staff
all
and-
at Parlor.
yeah. So the
Wow.
parlor,
Yeah.
if you look at our space, it's based on, if you take away the restaurant from the parlor, I used to be able to work a Friday day shift with 32 seats. So there's 12 bar seats, 24 on the high tops. And it was hard. I need a little bar back or a manager thing, but I would make so much money because it was basically just me and I get all those tips. So we kind of reverse engineered it. We doubled the size. So it's made for two people. Andrew and I work it during the week, or whoever, in a few months works it during the week. And then we add a hostess and maybe a bar back on the weekends to keep the tips up. And I learned at a lot of places I worked at, if you can get $300-400 in tips at night, people run through a brick wall for you. Like you can, they'll do the order for you. They'll break down the boxes and everything. Like bartending is a lifestyle. And if you can offer them 3-4 days a week for they're making, 15, 100 to $2,000, like that's a lifestyle. You can take vacations when you want. And so we went down to Century Grand. We always call it like the what's the name you call it for? We had 60 people on the staff, and it was
The
the
Avengers,
all the
of
talent.
bartenders, bro.
You look
Yeah.
at everyone there and all the cool shit they're doing now. We're so proud to be of that. And then COVID hit, changed the world, and so we helped open the restaurant area. And Andrew was actually down with I think it was with this family down in Mexico. And I had this idea about starting a food cart. And hey man, are you in? We've always talked about this because we found out we were coming back to be bartenders, but they were closing down the restaurant. And I was like, there's an opportunity there because these are 3 incredible cocktail bars in one concept and there's no food. So we pitched Jason and Rich, who have, we couldn't be here without, them give us an opportunity. And they thought we were just talking to them about like doing a food cart. And we came in, we cooked them all the food. We showed them the story, showed them the plan, and they accepted it. So we would bartend for 4 days a week and work the food cart 2 days a week. And we were like outside, there was still construction there. We were next to a dumpster. We just, the nightstand and as I mentioned before, where our POS was, I had $5,000 from a 401k when I worked at Four Seasons, and Andrew sold his truck he was using as landscaping, and that was our startup money.
Yeah, we would gather around the grill just because it was so cold, and we couldn't afford
Everyone's still wearing
a
masks.
heater. Then we got a heater. We couldn't get. Then we're like propane for it, So we'd gather around the grill to stay warm, and same with our guests that would come there. They'd order and would be like, hey,
stand over here.
Stand over here with us, But the first day our tent flew into the fucking wires, bro, into the light pole. Because we thought
Did you cause a blackout for the 15
No,
but it was hard to put hands on it because it's touching the electric wires.
I
so
very stupidly grabbed it, and I was like,
it?
that was dumb.
But yeah, we thought we had our setup on lockdown, and it was our first day, and we take off because we were cooking from our commissary kitchen, which was our apartment. So we had to go back to our apartment because we had the pork shoulders roasting. I had my mom making tortillas. So we took off for 2 hours. By the time we come back, bro, tents up in the light pole, and it was a hot mess. But like we always said, we were so super proud of it, and not everyone, but some people would kind of look at it as I wouldn't say a dumpster, but something that wasn't as big as it was for us in our eyes, because I think we could kind of see the long picture
because it was ours,
and because it was ours, and we knew that this was just for 6-8 months, and then we were gonna eventually gather some money, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna do a step up. What are we missing, And yeah, I mean, we have a good proven track record, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, the beginning was a hot mess, bro. Our cars were full of food all the time. Our apartment smelled like garlic. It was, we'd bring people home, and there's a food rack in your living room.
Yeah.
And there's a chest freezer in your bedroom, and they're just like, what the hell is going on here? Does a mad scientist live here? But it's just, it was the best way to get started. Usually, eventually we dialed it in, and we took the correct steps to make sure we weren't at risk, but the beginning was the Wild West, bro.
Yeah, balling on a budget.
Awesome.
And our goal every night was to make enough money and sell enough tacos to buy enough
just
stuff
to buy
for the
enough
next day.
Food costs again, right?
And then we just kept building. We found an opportunity at the Wandering Tortoise, and that's where we went full time. So we left bartending. We went full time at the Wandering Tortoise. Andrew had this great idea because we couldn't afford a food truck. So he's like, why don't we get a shipping container, just put all our stuff in there? Because food truck is when you're moving. We didn't plan on moving anywhere. We got that opportunity to go 5-6 days a week at Wandering Tortoise. Yeah. And then we chopped away for 4 years and didn't pay ourselves. And we were planning on opening a bar in Phoenix. That was always the original plan. And then we came up here, and Sam, a buddy of mine, opened this wonderful breakfast place called Foray. Shout out to Sam. We wouldn't be here without his advice. And he goes, hey man, how's Sink or Swim going? I'm like, really good. we're a couple years away and to being able to afford a liquor license. And he goes, liquor license, do you know they're different and they're allocated per county? I had no idea. I thought Arizona was all the same price. So about market rate down in Phoenix is around 275, give or take. We got ours for 150 up here. And that's what he told me how much it was. He actually talked about this place because his realtor told him about it, and he actually looked at it. And so I texted Andrew. We were up here on a family vacation. My family's from Detroit, so we come up here to do Christmas every year, get the snow, and kind of feel like we're in the Midwest. And I said, hey, what do you think about Flagstaff? And he kind of gave me like a head tilt, like maybe. And we came up here 20 times, and we love Flagstaff, and it's very charming with the mountain town. But we thought maybe there was room for us of doing like the techniques we learned in Phoenix. Flagstaff does a lot of food super well. There's so many incredible places up here, but kind of Mexican food isn't one, and street tacos isn't one that has made the travel north. And so, we saw opportunity there, and we do research. We came up here 20 times. We just drink at all the bars, and they tell us different things, and we're like, man, there's a spot for us. And and now we're here, and we're couldn't be prouder and more thankful. And looking back, like we send each other sometimes like the pictures of like the cart setup or like how we were next to the dumpster in the parking lot. And it is kind of surreal to be here, but man, we put our heart and soul into it, and we're very proud, and couldn't have did it with a lot of help along the way. All our friends supporting us, our family. We had pictures up front of our parents because we don't come from money, but they supported us so much. Like watch Andrew's kid, watch our dog, still doing it, and we couldn't have did it without them. And so we really dedicated the bar to them.
A minute ago or a few minutes ago, you were cheesing, just reflecting on some of those early days. Like I know that smile where it's like you look back on it fondly, but you're also like laughing inside because you're like, man, I'm so glad. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I always told Brian, I'm like, we're the only two stupid enough to do this, bro. At the beginning, it was it was more downs than ups. But yeah, it's just like, we're, like I said, we're the only ones that are dumb enough to do it, but it's going to work out. We'll have the last laugh, which is the best.
Being 10 years older than Andrew, I mean, he's smarter than I am, but having 10 years experience, what I used to always tell them is más tortuga que conejo, which is more tortoise than hare.
Mm-hmm.
Like as long as we keep chopping, we've had a lot of people we've seen in this industry is they'll take the easy way out. They'll get a big investor. They'll be able to open quicker, and it's tough for you, like as a human, to not see that and be like, man, like, are we ever going to get there? Because there was a lot of faith that we had to show, but we just kept chopping away. And one of the biggest things that we're so proud of is we still own almost 90% of equity. And that was always a big thing with us because a big part of our plan is to hand it off to someone like us, 10 years ago that's hungry as us and let them run the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be their piece. We wish there was someone else that gave us their opportunity like that. And there's a lot of places that say they kind of float that to you, but it just never ends up being. It's the carrot, and then it ends up being the stick, And so that's always been a bit. I mean, we're 6 months in. Hopefully we get there, but that's always been the plan, to develop it to a point where it's not our bar, it's their bar, right? And then maybe we go on to do another project around town here or something, and just give people ownership. Because I talked about how I worked in food and beverage for 20 years. 20 years ago, the people behind the bar, the shitty college bars and sports bars I worked at, we make more money than these high-end bars do now. And so we're trying to hopefully change that equation to where the person we leave it to is, it's kind of the Houston's model. It's believe it or not, Texas Roadhouse does it like that.
Yeah.
And Dutch Brothers does it like that, where like you are bought in as a partner. And of course you're going to make sure the shit's running right when your pay is based on that. So that, and we always put it out there. We tell everyone our plan, because it's not I hope people steal it. I hope people do that, because there's too much of like a top down thing. It's like everyone's seen the Costco versus the Walmart, right? The Walmart, these CEOs make all the money. All the people that work there, they have trouble with staffing all the time. Where Costco, they treat their employees well. It's literally in their mission statement.
Yeah.
And there's people that can live really good lives. They can raise a family, buy a house, have insurance.
Have insurance is a big one.
And
shout out Costco.
Yeah, 100%, without a doubt. Yeah. Hey, Costco, come in Flagstaff. We miss you. But it's it's just always been something. I've been doing it for so long. And the big joke is you go to like, you start as like a hostess or a bar back, you go to a server, then a bartender, then a real estate license, then death. I was at that age, 5, 6 years ago, we're like, what the fuck am I going to do? I don't want to go back to teaching. I have to figure out a way for us, or like Andrew in 10 years, to transition to something. That's where we bought the bar. And we want to create that transition where people don't have to go be a liquor rep, which I love the liquor reps and I respect that game. I did it for a while, but I want someone who loves hospitality and still wants to work in bars. They have an exit plan where they can, hopefully save up for retirement, so that's kind of like our global, like I said, we're 6 months in, but that's our touch point, 1,000 miles down the road.
Yeah, well, you can be living life without living life, right? And I'm sure you guys would agree that those years that you spent in that absolute grind mode aren't necessarily sustainable, but you
Yeah.
probably lived 4 or 5 lifetimes in those stretch of
Yeah.
years.
We were
Yeah.
just talking about it today where it's
Yeah, like we've aged a couple
yeah,
decades in a couple years, but
like a car, it's we put
put
like
some miles.
we put an extra 50,000 a year to hopefully be in the garage in 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And be like that nice historic car.
Yeah, but then it also has that sentimental value, like, oh, that was
Yes.
my grandpa's car that did this and has those
Sure.
memories associated.
Yes.
We went camping in that vehicle. Yeah, and I think also that life, that way deeper meaning is what makes it so every taco that you put out, every cocktail that you put out, everyone that you bring on the staff feels that love ingrained in it, that
Sure.
in a restaurant environment where, it's kind of gone in two different directions. It's either, from what I've seen, it's, as cheap as possible as you can get it, like the fast food and the
Yes.
slop bowls, as they call them these
Sure.
days. And then, nicer places, which doesn't necessarily just mean fancier, but a more expensive experience, but a more expensive experience that's worth it.
Mhm.
And it's not always a dollar amount for the consumer, but, for you guys to take care of your staff or to give up a portion of your business. I mean, that's an expensive decision to make.
Yes.
And I think, especially over COVID, but hopefully in the future, people like you guys will be making those sacrifices and building businesses like this and kind of carving out that middle ground where you can have all those things and it doesn't have to cost your entire life savings to get around to cocktails.
Yeah, it's kind of like
100%.
reinventing the F&B wheel. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? But everything that we've worked at from the best to the worst bars, right? And when we opened this place up, we really try to focus on what were we missing, and like felt that we weren't being valued, that we can do for our employees so they can feel valued, like having health insurance, or not having secure days off. If
Yeah.
I ask for a day off within 15 days, it's a guaranteed off. It doesn't matter if we have staff issues, or you have to switch shifts, which is very common. Is you'll ask for a vacation and they're like, we can give you 3 out of the 5 days, but if so and so is willing to switch with you, we can make it happen.
Mhm.
We're like, that does not exist here.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
everyone knows like the food and beverage industry is broken to a point right now. And I'm not saying we have all the answers, but we have an idea of an answer.
And you're looking for the
or
answers.
looking for the answer, right? Like
Yeah.
we know what we kind of want to target. So I think that's what's been one of our strengths with our staff is, we try to do our best to not do that to them.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we have to run the business and keep it going. But if the staff's happy, the business is going to do good.
Well, and like
Yeah.
you said earlier, yes, it is an expensive decision, but I actually think it's a smart business decision because you have more employee retainment. It costs so much to train a new employee. Um, so people want to work for you because they see the vision, and we're trying to create a template. So when I talked about the parlor, when I was at the parlor, it was in its heyday, had 12 cocktails. I think they had 16 beers in draft. We have 12, and a really cool wine list and a reserve list. And that's our blueprint. And some things about, I love cool cocktail bars. They never have a draft beer list, which is a peeve of mine because I'm not always in the mood for a cocktail.
Yeah.
And also, I have bottles and cans at home, but I don't have a draft system. And then sometimes I want to drink wine, and most places do 1 or 2 really well. We're trying to do all 3 really well. And there's some science behind that because at the parlor, we do such huge volumes of all 3. And when you're doing just craft cocktails, sometimes it takes, it takes time to make these cocktails. When you can kind of pour a beer and a wine, opening that wine bottle or going on the draft system.
It's a server and bartender's best friend, bro. When you're in the weeds,
10% as fast. You get a relief when you see a table and they get like 8 beers,
I tell you what, let's get a quick break in and then we'll kind of dig into your guys' menu and why you've structured it that way.
For sure, bro.
Of course.
Yeah.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode. Roll back into it. You were kind of discussing the structure of your menu. Talk a little bit more about the structure of that menu and not only about why it works for you guys, but for guests. And then let's also talk about some of the specific beverages you have on that menu.
Yeah, I think, with what's been going on with like cocktails just in general. Like I said, I have the experience of when headed sluts and, panty droppers and all these drinks or,
Those are drinks. Okay.
They are, well, they are, they're all these drinks and, the technique's gotten better, the ingredients have gotten better, but I think the speed with how stuff is made, when you go to these high level cocktail bars and they have 30, 40 cocktails on the menu, I love going to them, but sometimes, you come with a group of 6 people, right? Not everyone's into cocktails. You're kind of going over the head of some people. So we always have a really curated draft menu and we always have a really curated wine list because I think we want to appeal to everyone in the best way because I think a good drinker doesn't always drink cocktails. I think a good drinker doesn't always drink beers or wine. I think a good drinker knows what's good in everything, and there's a time and a place for it.
I must be a pretty good drinker then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Probably better than my wife wants me
to be. Same. I feel like the better we are on this side of the bar, I always say the better we get on that side of the bar. But yeah, it was really, there was definitely an idea. If we have all 3, it will allow our ticket times to be quicker on the cocktails, right? So we can do all 3. And I think it's an oversight of a lot of places.
Because people aren't being pushed into cocktails.
Yeah, because it's not for everyone, man. I'm not going to talk my dad into doing like a riff on a Manhattan. It's just not him. He grew up in Detroit and he likes what he likes, and this is we love Flagstaff. It's a very working class town, and we want to be able to serve not only, the bartender when they get off work and wants to do some cool like riff on something or something unique that they've never seen before.
Dare I say even the mixologists?
Yeah.
Well, the reason also I think that, the whole drink house is really what speaks out for the everyday drinker. Drink house doesn't speak mixologist, it speaks more as bartender, and it's more of the everyday drinker. So, we didn't want to be a lounge. We didn't want to be like this immersive experience. We wanted to be a drink house. Like, Brian kind of brought its own identity to where it's like he said, the best 12 taps, creative. We're not going to carry stuff that you could find in the next 5 bars that you're going to walk down the street. We're going to bring something that has value. And that is still supporting local. I mean, it's not Arizona, but, we're sourcing these beers from small breweries from other states. So, and in a sense, we're still supporting like small families in a way. And
like-minded, like we are. And we have 8 of 11 taps right now are from Arizona. We always try to get the coolers.
And we feel like at a lounge or something else, like a different experience, they're going to serve you the riff on the Manhattan. And they're not gonna step back when you just say, "Hey, I like Basil Hayden," and that's what I like, So for us, it was like meeting the guest halfway to where it's like, okay, we're a drink house. It's more chill. You're gonna treat it whatever you want. Yeah, it looks nice in here, and there's like a sexy red curtain, and it's dark. But you could treat it just like any other bar down the street.
It's just a bar. We tell people that all the time.
And our prices are right in line.
You still treat it with the reverence, not only for the art, if you will, itself, but for the experience that the customer is going to have.
Yeah, but like we've worked in bars for so long, and we get to drink the coolest stuff and all these cool products. On our days off, I'm a beer and a shot guy. We're Jack and Coke guys,
all day,
and like sometimes we go to bars and on our day off, they're like, "You haven't seen our cocktail list?" Like, bro, I respect it, but right now I just want a Jack and Coke, and we try to like, approach them with the same, appreciation as someone that wants to, do something cool they've never seen before. And like I said, we built this place, kind of the structure too, is there's 6 and 8 tops. We never try to go over 6 if we can help it. And the thing is, in that 6 party, you're not going to have everyone that are on the same page. And so we try to offer pages for everyone to enjoy, you know, what they want, you know. You don't have to. I think there's a mistake sometimes. People build the bar just for like the people that are into cocktails and bartenders. Not
Yeah.
everyone's that, man. Like you want to me, like I'm in different moods every day. Sometimes I want a really nice bottle of wine, you know, however the wind's like striking that day. And sometimes I want to, you know, geek out on like some really cool overproof daiquiris or whatever the bartender's riff is. And yeah, so it was very calculated for us to make something that no matter what mood you're in, we got you.
Yeah, to circle back to that, the music analogy, it's like, you know, you spent your years of like the Beatles in Hamburg where they're learning all the different songs, the hundreds of covers and all
Yeah.
the different
Sure.
voicings of the chords to the point where you could play a chord and he knows where you go. It's like a band who's that dialed in. And then now because of that, sure, you can have a fancy, big, colorful jazz chord, but you can also just keep it
Can
as
still
simple
play
as
the hits.
possible
Yes.
and
Yeah.
still have that be a beautiful experience, even if it's
Correct.
just, you know, a couple of notes that are delivered properly. Same thing for you guys. It's like we were saying earlier, you know, a Jack and Coke that is delivered with
Properly.
a smile and a conversation.
The right
and-
ice, the right proportions.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
do the, you know,
The Mexican
the
Coke.
real Mexican
Yeah.
Coke. And it's just the little touches like that, right? That it makes it that much better.
Mhm.
We're gonna
But
try to make you the best Jack and Coke
we
you've
we
ever
always,
had.
you know, everything we do, we start with quality ingredients. That's the number one thing. You might not see a big brand on there, but I promise you that it's good quality, honest ingredients. And I think that's what makes the drink house the best thing and more approachable is I promise you you're getting the fresh squeezed juice, the best well program that you could possibly find around
Mm.
here with the, you know, zero additive tequila, real Tejon, like, you know, roll
Yeah,
milling.
Four Roses yellow labels are
Four Roses,
our bourbon,
right?
our well bourbon.
Wow.
And we might go $1 over, but dude, for $1, you're not willing to go
Less of a
from Southern
hangover.
Comfort to a Four Roses yellow
Yeah.
label, or you know,
Or the Juarez tequila that you see in all
locally
those
sourced
bars, you know?
potatoes and all that good stuff. But yeah, that's the
Well, so you
awesome
guys
part.
might not hype it up, but you do have some more fancified cocktails.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
We
Speak to that side of things a little bit and don't hold back. You can
Sure.
you can hype yourselves up a little bit.
We source like three different ways. So Brian's wife's from Japan, so we do a lot of Japanese touches. My family's from Sonora, so we do a lot of Mexico, mainly like Sonoran inspired, and obviously Arizona. You know,
And Flagstaff where
and
we can.
Flagstaff heavy. But if we could highlight Arizona or even like the Southwest, you know, anything from the Southwest is really where we source most of our ingredients.
Yeah, we want it to make sense. So I'll use a couple examples. One, probably our most popular drink on the menu is called a Pluto's Plate. It's a riff on a Saturn, which is one of our favorite like classic tiki cocktails. But we kind of did our own thing because Pluto was discovered here. It's kind of one of the cool
Yeah.
things about Flagstaff. And we're like, fuck Saturn, we're a Pluto town. And we actually, the observatory reached out to us and they did a Pluto bar crawl and we were included on it, which we're
Nice.
very proud of because like Flagstaff's a special place and anytime we can add a touch there we want to. My favorite drink when I go to bars, every bartender kind of has a drink where they test if a bar like if they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Mine's an overproof daiquiri. And so we do an overproof daiquiri, but we found this strawberry aperitif that is sourced around the same elevation that Flagstaff is. It's from Europe,
Oh,
but we're
okay.
like, shit, send it. We love this
It's
stuff. And
alpine strawberry.
strawberry,
so it's just,
yeah.
you know, strawberries.
But yeah,
sourced from
so
high
trying to
altitude.
make stuff with intention. All our names really have like a purpose behind it. The Lost in Translation's a riff on New York Sour. We talked about the Japanese touches we throw in there. If you remember the movie Lost in Translation, they spend the whole time in Tokyo, but they're based in New York. So New York Sour with Japanese touches.
Gotcha.
So everything on our menu has an idea. And if any hip hop heads, they always notice like that's part of our like recipe,
Yeah.
Bourbon and Lax, which is legendary masterpiece song. That's the name of our household fashion. It goes over everyone's head, but if you know it type
Sure.
thing. But yeah, we try to make ingredients, recipes. We try to add higher techniques, but we always try to make it with intention where there's a purpose behind the name, kind of why we put it there. And we try to tell that story. We teach everyone that works here, like, this is why we named it this, you know, and as we go forward and do these other cocktail menus, we're going to do 2 a year. they'll be involved, so that'll be part of their story too, you
Mm.
know. And it's yeah, we're doing 2 cocktail menus a year because there's like a cold season in Flagstaff and a warm season, and we have all red lights and we have all fire behind us. When we switch the menu, it'll be all snow videos and all the lights will go to blue. And so we'll switch it. We're a little behind this year. It's usually going to be like May or so, but we had to open the kitchen first week of May, and so we're just kind of playing catch up right now. But it should be in the next 3 weeks or so.
Well, we were, as I mentioned before, just over at Shift, and Chef Tamara was talking about how when you put parameters on something, it actually unleashes your creativity as opposed to hinders it. And it sounds like one of those parameters, or really the two that I'm really hearing, are Flagstaff and your guys' cultural backgrounds.
Correct.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. And shout out to Chef Tam and
Shift.
Shift in general. It's our favorite restaurant in town.
Let's go.
If you have came to
It's
Flagstaff
awesome.
and you haven't went to Shift, you are messing up.
Yeah, bro.
And we're so grateful to have them for Andrew's birthday. When we got our liquor license, when we got our COO, we did celebration dinners there.
Yes.
Nice.
And they're just doing another level stuff. And yeah, Chef Tam's a great example. You know, she lives on a farm, sources a lot of her own
Just
stuff.
good people too.
Yeah.
It is 100%.
Just like us, like two
welcoming,
just two
yep.
normal, people just chasing the dream,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just staying like
You see
super
the owner
humble,
there
yeah.
almost every day,
Sure.
you know, and yeah, it's Flagstaff's a very special place. And the more you dive into how special it is, the better your place is going to be. And Andrew always uses the thing. He said, we came here to take part, not to take over, to where we want to be a part of this community. We're big believers. If you build a bar, it's a public house, right? Like it's a third place where people gather. And if you're only seeing people on their birthdays, special occasions, when they have friends in town, I think you're screwing up. You know, you want to serve the 20 blocks around you first, then you can worry about the rest. You need that base.
Well, if you look at your guys' Google reviews, I think basically every single person who's ever come in here has to agree with that.
Shout out to 9 of our friends. Let's not lie. We saw some friends. Thank you for that. But the rest of them are real. And
They're
they're
real and organic, and we piss some people off, but
yeah, there's going to be some bad
usually
ones coming.
We're pretty calculated about, when to not purposefully piss someone off, but it's going to happen.
We have
Well, you're doing it
seats.
because the rest of the people at the bar are all rolling their eyes at that person. You're like,
yeah,
oh,
or we
need
know
them
if
not
they
to come
bring him
back.
in, it's like,
Is the
we're one
customer
drink
always
away
right?
from, yeah.
You know, we would love, 99% of our customers, but sometimes when you're affecting the experience of other people next to you is a big one for us, or anyone on the staff. That's when we really draw the line. But
Yes.
yeah, we're very proud. Keep sending them in, everyone who enjoys it here. But we know the bad ones are coming, but we do have a pretty good head start, and we're very thankful for it. And, we're trying to do our best throwing parties and making friends and bringing people in.
What are some of your favorite cocktails on the menu?
Favorite cocktails, my favorite overall is Pluto's Flight. I like more of like a citrus, like a fruit forward cocktail. And for sippers, I like bourbon and lax, which is like our twist on an old fashioned, which has like a little bit of pandan liqueur, cacao bitters, and it's just really a classic old fashioned recipe with a splash of pandan and cacao bitters. And Lost in Translation is the one we're the most proud of. It has a
That's the most outside of the box.
White chocolate washed rye whiskey, matcha, lemon. And we do a really cool mulled wine foam, which is kind of like the star of the show and puts the whole drink together. But yeah.
How many cocktails do you have on the menu?
I think
10.
It's 11, 10?
10 or 12.
All right,
we slowly
we
been
go up
adding.
and down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the plan is for the next one, when it all comes to back, like the genesis of how we were rocking so well at the parlor, is they had 12 drinks, and we're going to do this for the next menu, is we're going to have 1 or 2 like weekly drinks. It's going to allow us to like get the staff motivated, teach them techniques, put a little of their identity, and also kind of workshop it, right? Like if we get one that people are like, oh, remember that when I had 2 weeks, we want to put on the menu, it'll probably go on the next menu.
Yeah, like right now we have a key lime martini that's like part of our secret menu. And it's been such a big hit that now it's going on our menu now.
Nice.
So it's a good way to R&D and kind of see what the town's biting at. Like Brian said, Flag's way different than what we're used to. We're coming from a big city to a mountain town, and it's just
we're learning how to adapt.
We're learning how to adapt, and we know that less is more up here, and it's
Gotcha.
more about intention and the hospitality that takes you longer or like, further, just because, community is everything up here.
It
Phoenix
is.
is so spread out. You do have like the food and beverage community, but here it's like that you see the neighborhood.
You
You see
see them
them
at the
come in,
grocery
Yeah.
store. I
and
see people all the
and like
time.
Brian says, it's the instant gratification where like you'll see them come in the next day with their friend, or within hours, their friend will come in and be like, "Hey, Brian sent me in. He was just in here. He was really excited."
Yeah, because we
And,
treated them well.
and that's one of the best parts of being in a small town is you see the reward almost instantly. Where in the valley you're a little bit more caught up in other stuff, or maybe you're 20 miles out from that bar, so it takes some time to see it. Where here it's either you see the judgment or the bad or the good,
Yeah.
but like, we're 5 stars, so we're on the other side of the fence so far.
What is the ideal visit for someone? And I have my take on this, having not even been in yet,
Sure.
but knowing that I like to save money on things, if you know where I'm going with that. But yeah, talk about what you guys consider the ideal visit here.
So to come in, to realize that we're doing something different here in a good way, like something that's like pushing the envelope, to have whatever drink they want. Like I said, cocktail, beer, or wine, we don't discriminate. Pick one of those. You got to get a taco. I don't know anyone else that's using Andrew's mom's recipe up here, but we have this chef Dennis that's so talented. You got to get a taco. It's the only place we know of in Northern Arizona that's making like abuelita handmade tortillas. We're cooking everything on charcoal. And then when you leave, to remember us and have a little bit of a relationship with us. I think that kind of hits on everything. Oh, and salt and pepper on restaurants. I always say that's the music. We
Yeah.
put so much heart into this playlist. We got bachata on there. We got some Peso Pluma. We got Mos Def. We got Jay-Z.
Come
we
in
got
ready to vibe.
Yeah.
100%. We
Method
built
Man.
it for vibes.
Yes.
It's the same playlist. It's changed a lot and evolved, but it's the same playlist we put together for that party we threw at our apartment,
Wow.
that long ago. It's just evolved and it's gotten better, but I think music is overlooked at a lot of places, and it's really a part of who we are. We're big, music heads, and yeah, we put our heart and soul into it, just like we did everything. We have video games in the back. That's also kind of a cool thing. We put video games in the back because all the cool like sports bars or like Midwest, like even dive bars, they have games. Every cool cocktail bar I've ever been to never does. Why? Because I'm letting it rip on like a cool ass cocktail. Can I let it rip on some golden tea?
Yeah.
And so we thought it'd help take away from, because Need to Know Design did such a good job helping us design the place. We didn't have the vision that they did, and they helped us elevate what it looks like. But sometimes people walk in and they're not used to something looking like this in Flagstaff, and they're like, too fancy.
Yeah.
Once we get them sitting down, they see our $5 Australia Jalisco's that are ice cold every day. We have $5 house shots, and then they see the video games, they start to get it.
They get to start meeting the people who work here, and once they meet us, they're like, "Oh wow, this is actually a pretty normal place." Like, there's not too much of the swanky going on. It's just looks good in here.
It's a bar.
And it's a bar. Like you can play your golden tea and have your Jack and Coke and have just as good as a time as you could go anywhere else,
Yeah, not to say that you guys haven't done it up or that it's lacking, but you stripped away the
Yeah.
fluff and just left the most important things
100%.
for that
Correct. Yeah.
experience.
And
I'm
everything
glad you see that.
everything we built is service.
Mhm.
So I mean, it looks nice in here, but I promise you the like Brian said, we kind of revamped that parlor floor. We made like a little exit at the bar to where we can access
So we have two
quicker.
exits at the bar. You can
Gotcha.
serve
We
it.
have the bird's eye,
Yeah.
which is where we pick up all of our drinks, and you
Yeah,
could
the server could see
seriously
the whole floor
see the
from
whole
there.
floor. And if you're gonna come pick up a drink, you have to walk through every single table. So if a table needs something, they can flag you, or
Mhm.
hopefully our one of our team members can pick up that our guest needs something. But we would put tape on the ground and be like, "This is the server station. This is where we want to cut the hole." And we're like, "No, there's a blind spot right here."
Mm.
Okay, let's move on to another spot. So everything is polished up, but I promise you it's built for our staff to have the most efficient service. And like Brian says, try to work it with the most minimal staff. And if we can kind of figure out how to naturally make these things happen, I think we can make the big bucks with minimal staff.
Yeah, and we've heard it's tough because it's small town hiring staff. We've gotten really lucky. Our staff's great. We try to hire personalities and not skills. I think people overcomplicate bartending sometime. Like, the two jigger system that we learned for the places we work at and stuff. I could teach my niece to do that. I really could. She's super talented. You can't teach hospitality. So we
Yes.
we try to hire people that are personalities, really positive attitudes and hard workers, and we
Good
can
team
teach them
members.
we can teach them the rest. We've been doing it for a long time, and we learned at some of the best places and learned some from the best people.
Yep.
And yeah, I think people overcomplicate it. I think there's a certain level of ego sometimes in bartending where they're like, "Oh, I know this." Yeah, but you were a dipshit that didn't know anything either. You needed a mentor that showed you. And so we try to tell people to take your ego out of it and just show them the mechanics, and then it's kind of onto them to like, everyone has the same 6 books. Everyone has all the Death and Co, the Liquid Intelligence, the Meehan's Bar Manual, right? The information's out there. You can get that, but the unreasonable hospitality is out there, and that's been a really good one
Yeah.
too. And that helps you get there, but no one's going to teach you how to be a good person, to have, charisma, to have good ethics, and to be a good coworker first. I've worked in so many places where they're like, there's a person that's maybe the best bartender, but they treat their employees like shit. And that stuff doesn't fly there. We keep a very tight eye on, like, if you're not treating your coworker good first, how are you going to treat that person in front of you who you don't even know, and someone you're not seeing every day? So that's always been a big focus of kind of the environment we're trying to create and kind of where we're trying to go and push the industry. Hopefully we'll have a little impact on.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap this up, tell me what your guys' days of being open are, hours, happy hour, and any other news you guys got coming.
Yeah. So every day during the week, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're closed on Sunday, Mondays, because we need some time off. We might eventually go to 6 days, but working at the parlor, I'm a big believer that you never go 7 days. We'll always have a day of rest for the staff, for us to do stuff, for people to do laundry, to do doctor's appointments. But right now, so it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We open at 5. We go till 1. The kitchen goes till midnight for now. And then on Friday, Saturday, we open at 4, and then we go till 2 a.m. So we really built this.
Kitchen all night for those?
Till midnight.
Till
Till midnight,
midnight for
gotcha.
now,
Yeah.
but the plan is to do tacos till midnight, and then do a very limited number of Sonoran dogs, kind of like you got to be here to get
And we
get there.
we also have a super aggressive happy hour. So
Yeah.
any day that we open, the first hour of service is 50% off
All drinks.
all drinks. So any cocktail, any beer
That's
or
pretty
wine.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our second hour is 33% off. So
Mm.
that's excluding the food. But if you order any $14 old fashioned, it's $7 on happy hour with artisan ice, 4 roses, and
That might
Pre-
be
pre-
like the best happy hour in town. I don't
We
want to
think-
ruffle any
we think
feathers
so,
with that,
bro.
but
we
yeah.
tried to do that because we
Yeah.
thought it was a hole in the Flagstaff market. Like
Yeah.
a lot of places are like $1 or $2 off draft beer, or like they do wells, and like the wells we're talking about. Like, I'm too old to drink wells. I get bad hangovers there anyway. But the other thing is, like, if it's $1 or $2 off draft beer, I'll just fucking pay the tax and come while I want to.
Yeah.
So we did that one because we're new. We want people to have eyes on us, and we just want people to try it out. And we kind of piggybacked off. I worked at Postino,
Mhm.
and if you remember, their Monday, Tuesday thing's so brilliant because you would go there Monday, Tuesday. I think it's like $25 now. It used to be 20. You get the bottle of wine, you get the bruschetta, and then later in the week, it's not the special, and you're like, man, I really crave Postino. So you go there and pay the full price. That was always the idea.
Yeah.
We took that Monday, Tuesday, and happy hours around here aren't that busy. When we were up here, we'd drive around, and when we were driving Lyft and, paying our bills, and we'd see that places weren't that busy. We want them to come in when it's not a busy time, to be like, oh man, I really miss Lobo, and I want to come there
Yeah.
when it's a normal time. So
Definitely.
that's always the plan with that. And then this summer, this is an exciting one. We're doing a Fly North series. So all our relationships in the Valley, we were just on a conference call. Shout out to Mitch and Libby from Highball, some of our favorites. They're going to come up here, and we're going to do a pop-up with
Nice.
them. The next month, we're working possibly on Bacanora Morachis.
Mm.
And then we still have to figure out the dates. And then we're going to do Undertow. We also talked to them. So when we were at the Wandering Tortoise, Pizza Coletta would come down twice a year. They would sell like 500 pizzas in like 6 hours. And we're like, holy shit, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And Pizza Coletta, pizza is absolutely incredible, but I think it was the fact like, oh, I don't have to drive 2 hours north to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking while the valley's slow in the summer, we're doing the opposite for the fly
reverse,
north
yeah.
is they, are slow. They can promote up here. People that are aware of these places but haven't had a chance to go to try them can come try them here. So we're going to do pop-ups with them.
Well, I mean, it's like 100 down in the valley today. We were sitting on the patio at
Don't miss
Sosta, and
Love
we were
Sosta.
having some lunch, and we're like, you couldn't ask for better.
That's the best
weather than
patio in
this.
town.
Yeah.
The old bricks building. Man.
So yeah, anyone that's listening, keep an eye out for those dates. Not that you only need to come for those, because there's plenty of other reason to come up here, even just the happy hour alone.
Yeah.
And some late night tacos. But yeah, come on up, enjoy some of the beautiful weather, get out of that heat, and come visit these fine fellas.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You guys might run into a new menu in the next few months. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
cool.
coming in hot or
It's
cold
coming.
because we're doing a cold
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
bro.
Appreciate it.